The history of the valleys of South Wales and the mountains of eastern Kentucky is closely tied to the Industrial Revolution. High-quality coal from both regions fed steam engines and steel mills, which helped Great Britain and the United States become dominant world powers. Immigrants flooded into these rural regions for the opportunity to earn wages in the mines.
Modern-day Wales was built on coal. I'm the first of 5 generations, at least, on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side, not to actually work underground, as we say, in the mines.
Howard Francis has worked as a Labour historian and a Member of Parliament. His books explain how miners' unions helped shape modern Wales.
High-quality Welsh coal sustained the British economy, indeed the British Empire, and of course it fueled the British Navy. In Wales, trade unions began to organise in the middle of the 19th century, and by the end of the 19th century, the South Wales Miners' Federation was created. It became the dominant force in the labour movement of Wales and indeed in Britain.
The coal fields in South Wales industrialized decades before Appalachia, and much of the history of the Appalachian coal fields follows patterns set in Wales.
The coal fields of eastern Kentucky were developed in the early 20th century. Some of the nation's biggest companies, such as U.S. Steel, built entire towns from the ground up to supply coal to their mills.
These company towns attracted a diverse group of immigrants to work in their mines. In Lynch, Kentucky, U.S. Steel provided houses, schools, and hospitals for their workers. A combination of private ownership and racial segregation helped coal companies control their growing labor force.
That's our history right there, about the little trunks and everything. And U.S. Steel had a mine here. They had a guy named, they called him Limehouse. And he would go and get the black people in Alabama and bring them to Lynch by night. The reason he had to do it by night, because it was illegal for him, what he was doing. And that's how most of the blacks that work in the coal mine here, most of them came from Alabama.
I'm pretty sure my dad's parents was raised here, but their parents came from Italy. And the reason they came over here was to work in the coal mines. Everyone, like both my mama and dad's family, has grown up either in Cumberland or Lynch.
When they first started in Lynch, they had a big store called the Commissary. And if you worked for Lynch, that's the only place you could spend your money. They didn't give you no money, they gave you a script. They had a hard way to go. And they weren't making about $2 or $3 a day.
Dangerous working conditions and lack of democracy led coal miners to organize into industrial unions. In both regions, mine owners attempted to block the rising tide of unionism, and miners had to literally fight for their right to unionize.
The unions were so strong in Wales. The fact that their communities were independent, they were not owned by the coal companies, made a big difference. And the miners' club and the miners' education was really important. And so it made for this whole strong sort of union consciousness that just did not exist in the United States.
when it came then to organizing the men into the lodge, well, there was no difficulty. All that was required was a threat to say, well, if we had 10 backsliders, 10 people that had not kept up their contribution, all we'd have to do was to call a pithead meeting and say, well, if these men don't pay up by such and such a date, well, the colliery would stop.
After decades of labour disputes, coal mines in England, Scotland and Wales were nationalised in 1947. A national coal board was established to control production, employment and safety regulations. While production was important, the coal board also considered the well-being of the community.
And it was a great day, the hoisting of the flag. This little colliery where I had worked was now no longer in the hands of the coal owners. The mining industry of Britain was to be vested in the state.
The rail industry, the gas industry, the electricity industry, the coal industry, they were all publicly owned. Right. The principle of nationalisation is to produce something for the benefit of all the community, not for the benefit of a few shareholders.
In the U.S., the United Mine Workers of America was at the peak of its political power after World War II. The gains made by organized labor during this period helped millions of American families enter into the middle class. The experiences of union organizing also taught coalfield residents about the strength of community.
You know, I was born and raised here in Lynch in 1946. In 46, it was still pretty much the pick and shovel, the cutting machine. They'd cut the coal on the bottom, you know, cut and shoot, and then hand load and all that. At that time, there was 10,000 people living in this little town of Lynch, Kentucky.
The economic gains made by Appalachian miners after World War II were short-lived. Increasing mechanization of the coal industry led to job loss, labor unrest, and outmigration.
In Wales, decreasing demand for coal during the 1960s and controversial policies from the National Coal Board resulted in massive job losses. Many miners left the valleys to work in other industries.
Farewell, the colliery worker, the muffler and the cap. Farewell, you're on the valley, girls, we never will come back. The mines, they are a-closing, the valleys all are doomed. Oh, there's no work in the Rhondda, boys, we'll be in London soon. My father was a miner.
By the 1980s, the coal market became increasingly globalised. Cheap coal from apartheid South Africa forced coal prices down and increased the pressure to cut costs in highly unionised mines throughout the US and the UK.
We're standing up for what's right. And bless God, we're going to continue to stand up for what's right.
In 1984, on the Kentucky-West Virginia border, the United Mine Workers went on strike against the A.T. Massey Coal Company, which was then owned by two multinational corporations.
They don't care about your families. They don't care about your babies. They don't care about your husband. They don't care about your wife. And Mr. Politician, we want them out of here on the same horse they rode in.
Say, hey, Mr. Massey, no, you ain't gonna run no coal. No, you ain't gonna run any coal here today. Well, the union, as you know, has come a long, long way. And those old scat truckers that you hired are not gonna stand in our way. Say, hey, Mr. Massey, no, you...
At the same time in the UK, the National Coal Board announced a plan to close 90 mines over the next few years. This plan dramatically changed life in the South Wales valleys.
65 people were arrested. Mike Smart was there.
At a time when we're closing pits and axing jobs, we're importing into Britain 15 million tons of coal. Coal produced by the dirty, obscene system of apartheid in South Africa. And the trade union movement's got to stop any imports of anything from that dirty system.
It's in the evening after dark when the blackleg miner creeps to work. Moleskin pants and dirty shirt, there goes the blackleg miner. He takes his tools and down he goes to hew the coal that lies below. There's not a woman in this town row who'll look at the blackleg miner. So join the union while you may. Don't wait until your dying day, for that may not be far away. You dirty blackleg miner, you dirty blackleg miner.
But we lost the strike, and the rapid decline in the coal industry having lost that strike. And the feeling of helplessness, really. And I personally felt that it was absolutely soul-destroying, that there I was as one of the elected leaders of the National Union of Mine Workers, and was completely disarmed of any ability that I used to have in helping people who were in that situation. You just couldn't do anything about it.